Okay. Good evening, everyone. This English especially for David. Well, so welcome to our last webinar of this series. So it's been 13 great weeks, a lot of knowledge, a lot of information being shared, a lot of networks being made, and at the end, a lot of friendships being made. So on behalf of myself and Alex, thanks a lot for the past 13 weeks. It was a great experience, and hopefully we've contributed to your knowledge base, and we've contributed to improving you as a coach. So tonight, again, we have back, and then what is the best way to end off a series is to have Coach Div back. So he's not a guy that likes us to run through his CV, but a guy that's got a lot of knowledge. I think the best aspect of him, he stays humble. He's always approachable, always open-minded, thinks about the game differently. Even last week, he challenged myself and Samuel on different approaches to coaching. So I want to make a special welcome to Samuel Tron for his contributions. So Samuel Tron, he's the CEO of Sport Implementation Foundation. They're doing a lot of work within our prison systems where they educate people through sport. He's also involved with a lot of community projects. He's also a guest speaker. He's also an author of a book. So Samuel, welcome. And then our speaker for tonight, Coach Div. What else can we say? He's still impacting a lot of coaches. And still contributing to the game. I think it's unlucky that you're not part of coaching, but that's just, we don't have control over that. But it's great. Grateful to have you. Guys, just for signal, because some of the guys are struggling for signal, can we just mute our mics, except Coach Peter, and switch off our cameras, please, man? Otherwise, the network is not that strong for some people. Yeah, so Coach Div, all yours. I'm going to put up the slides, and then we take it from there. Okay, you want to start here? Okay, all yours, Coach.
Yeah, waiting for your slide to come up, but anyhow, let's go. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And this is one of the latest presentations that I did, because it's close to my heart, and I didn't want to put it out there for any coach unless I have verified that it worked and it's good for them, you know. So I call it from ordinary to extraordinary. When you identify talent, you see a boy or a rugby player that's really outstanding. He's different than all the others. That is ordinary. That is nothing else. Don't be in awe of that. You need to take that talent and you need to nurture it and to take it to the next level. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So the blue represents the talent, the raw talent that you do see, the raw talent that you identify, and that is why you, as a child, been selected, or you've played in teams that other people didn't play. Because you were ordinary. Now, for us to take this ordinary and go through life with it, you didn't grow. If you look at that circles there, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 circles, and we want the whole thing blue. We want the whole thing blue. The blue is representing what he is at the moment, but we want the whole thing blue. So the next thing we do then, we ask him to overcome certain things that we call the enemy. We ask him to overcome those kind of things in his life. And the enemy might be family matters. It might be community related. It might be, like in our country, race related. It might be whatever. That is the enemy for that particular talent. So for that guy to get to the next level, so to grow his blue, he just need to overcome that first few enemies in his life. And mostly that the enemies is himself. The enemies is within himself. The enemies is how he didn't manage to overcome his own obstacles in his life. So when he moves on to the yellow, then he has overcome some difficulties in his life, and in that yellow, he will have to go through pain. There's no way that you can stay there. You have to go through pain, and that pain can be caused by jealousy. It can be caused by circumstances closely to you, circumstances very far from you. But you have to overcome that pain. And through coming that pain, you will have to make some sacrifices in your life. The sacrifices will then mean that when everybody else is doing what they want to do, you do what you have to do to get to the next level of your life. And then the fourth thing that you have to overcome in the yellow part is trust. You need to trust yourself with whatever your coach or whatever life throws to you. You must trust yourself that you can overcome it. You will overcome it because you are very, very strong and you're strong enough to do it. And the last one in the yellow there is belief. Don't believe in yourself. If you don't believe in who you are, if you don't believe in that you can, if you don't believe that what you achieved is only a stepping stone, even if you made it to the Springbok team, it's still just a stepping stone to the next level. If you don't have that belief, you don't have that belief in your coach, if you don't have that belief in your mentors, if you don't have that belief in the systems around you, there's no way that you will overcome the yellow part of normality. So if you overcome all those things, then the yellow becomes blue. So all those things that you overcame becomes blue. And then the next thing you have to overcome in white again is again your enemy. And that's again yourself. You have to overcome yourself. And if you look at the little one, the little white circle, you see if you measure it, you can see that the volume of the enemy within you is much smaller than the volume of the enemy when you get to the next level. And that is very, very important, because life will definitely hit you very, very hard and harder, and challenges will become bigger, and threats will become bigger, and give up will become easier. Decision making will be harder, all those kind of things. But if you overcome those enemies, then you move to the next one, which we call extraordinary. When you walk into the extraordinary, if your whole circles, all the circles is then blue, if you walk into the extraordinary, then suddenly you have distinct yourself among all those greats. You have distinct yourself to something that other people are struggling to do, other things that people are finding hard to do. Those are the extraordinary things that becomes ordinary to you. And then you become a world-class player, you become a world-class coach, you become all those kind of things because you have overcome those things. You never lose focus. You know what your goals are. All those little things is very important for you. So as soon as you get there, and I can say with a comfortably here, not everybody gets there, and that is why we struggle, because there's something wrong with our development system within ourselves. People who worked with us, who identified us, they themselves never went to the green part in their life, and it's not easy for them to take other people there. So that is that is the most important thing, that you can't take anybody to the extraordinary level of his life. You must be there first, and you pull him up to you. Then we go to the next one, our brain. And our brain is divided into 4 areas, which make it easy for us to understand, which make it easy for us to work with. What some people what people they want to know, what should I do? They are just doers. They nothing bothers them. If you tell them run, they will run. If you tell them fall, they will fall. You just tell them what to do and they will do it. Other people will challenge you and ask you, why do you want me to do these things? Because they are more strategic, they are more creative, and they can see the bigger picture. They will ask you, why do you want me to do these little things? Some people will challenge you in a different way and say, how do I do this? Because he never overcame that yellow part in his life yet. So he wants to know by you how. And if you tell him the how, he will be very, very happy if he only do what you want him to do. And he's not doing what he can do and where he can be. And the last guy that you don't want in your team is he will ask you, now who's going to do it? Because he doesn't have the confidence to take what is on table for him, to take the team to the next level. He doesn't have that kind of confidence to do that. So what we then did is we went out and said that we're not working with 4 different kinds of people. We are working with 8 different kinds of people. And by working with the 8 different kinds of people, a lot of people do fool themselves. You look at that slide there. Now the next slide. Yeah, look at that slide. You can see there that the fish has been threatened by the cat, and they will say on a count of 3, we will evolve into a piranha. Whatever they do, they can't be anything else, and that is what people try to do. We're gonna win this team this weekend, and they don't have the capabilities. They don't have the real ammunition to go and do what they have to do. So your real thing is now you work with my world, which is the what has been to the next slide, please. The what has been divided into 2 smaller things. And there you see in the what area of your brain, you get the realist and you get the analyst. It all depends on which one is the dominant part of it. And then in your next part of your brain, your how part of your brain, you get somebody who can organize things for you, and you can be people who can put a price and a value, a marketing price and a value to what you are saying. And in the who part, you'll get people who just there to socialize, people who will always be there. They so jovial. They don't have any ambitions. And then the last one is if in the wide part, if the strategist and the imaginer, if you don't keep them busy, you will lose them. So whatever you do, sometimes when coaches sit down and coaches make a final speech or try to motivate the team, if you don't understand what the dominance of your team is, are they easily externally motivated or internally motivated? If you don't understand the dominance of your team, then you will never ever know how you can instead of motivating some players, demoting some players just before the game, and they will never do their game. So that is so important for us to understand those things. And I want to move from here. I'm not going to the next slide because what the next slide is all about is about describing the realists and the analysts and all those kind of people. We're not going to do that tonight because that is too much information, but we can get all these things from Dr. Krag. What we're going to do now, we're going to open the floor now for discussions, and people can ask questions through Doc, and we will answer those kind of questions for you.
Okay, thanks for that, Coach. I want to start off with a question and I think it's important. Before we can take players to the extraordinary, we need to take ourselves there. And how do we as coaches take ourselves to the extraordinary?
If you go back to our first slide, yes, back to we first did me and you, where you can't coach if you don't know who you are. You do have to understand. You must have a great understanding of your strengths, of your weaknesses, of your needs. All of us do have needs. We do want to feel important. We need some people to make us feel important so that we can make other people feel important. If we don't find those things, then we will never ever have the tools to instill it into our players. So you must be satisfied. There's one thing that's very important in there is that when you coach, you must go and see that there's happiness in your team. The first person you have to make happy is yourself, because if you're not happy, it will rub off to the players. The second thing is you must get those players who can do it to want to do it. So if you yourself didn't make a visit to those kind of challenges in your life, it's going to be hard for you to actually find those mediums to get to the heartbeat of your players. And that is very, very important. What we do have firstly associates, people who's there, you greet them. And then you have people that you know, and then you have your friends. But the last one is very important. You must have a role model. You must have somebody where you can go bounce off. You must have somebody which you can be, and that person is mostly, most of the times, much older than you. That person is the one who will listen to you but be very honest to you. That person doesn't hide your weaknesses, and that person doesn't hold back when they have to give credit where it's due. So yeah, very, 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 very important is that you need to understand, if you're not there, there's no way that you can take anybody there.
Okay, you touched on an important thing, and I think mentoring, and we did have spoke about mentorship last week as well. You spoke about how to select a mentor and who you. Do you think in South Africa we're so scared to get someone to critique us because of our egos, and we want to be in a comfort zone all the time? Just what is your opinion on that?
But you know what's happening most of the time, and that is again one of the enemies you need to overcome in your circle. What we tend to miss, mostly is not, we're not scared. I don't think we're scared of sharing. We are scared of people finding out that we don't understand ourselves. So now we don't rather stay away from everybody and everything, and I have the license to criticize. But when you go to places like this, people can actually explore, and they can open up the fact that you have certain weaknesses. Most of our coaches think that they're perfect, and I still want to meet a perfect coach. We all make mistakes. We all can learn from each other. We can still even learn from our under 9 or under 11 rugby team match that we watch, and how certain boys do certain things. We can learn so much in life. But we did. It's a biblical thing. You think you were alive, but you were dead. We are really dead, and we think we're alive. We're holding and clutching to a straw, and we don't understand that we're only holding to the straw because we're standing on the ground, and we're holding the straw up instead of the straw holding us up. And that is the fear that most of our coaches have. They are afraid that they're going to be exposed.
Okay, so I've got two questions, and then I've got a couple of questions on WhatsApp that I received earlier today as well. Let's say a player enters the extraordinary circle. How do you keep that player extraordinary? Because sometimes when we get to that level, you're in the zone, things are going well in your personal life, things are going well in rugby. You're focused and you're functioning and you're operating. How do you keep player? What is the role of the coach to keep that player in that extraordinary circle?
Very good question, Doc. Because the one thing you need to understand is that as soon as a player get into that extraordinary circle, it's time for the coach to upskill himself. Otherwise, that player will form cliques. The player will outgrow the coach. There won't be any growth. The one sign that you look for and that you can find in the extraordinary column is fear. It's fear. Really, you'll find fear there, but a different kind of fear. A fear that you post out there by saying, "Oh, I'm afraid to find out what I can still do." I achieved now so many things, and I did it on a level where I am actually in awe of myself and of the systems and everything. That kind of fear, not the fear of not to try, but the fear of the human mind go there. And if you hit that button, then suddenly if you can get 5 of your team, you don't need more. If you get 5, 6 of your team in that zone, I'm telling you now, your team will become unstoppable. And that is very, very important. As soon as you hit that button, the coach must upskill himself to take him to the next level, because otherwise the players will outgrow him.
Yeah, so I want to touch on, we had this conversation while sitting in your living room in Paul, and you told me once that you dropped Morne Steyn without providing a reason. You just felt in your gut that you need to drop him. Just give us a bit of context, and how did you fit this into taking him to the extraordinary and then drop him after one of his best performances? What was your reasoning behind it, and just how do you link this to the concept that you presented tonight?
Sorry, Doc, that is one way. That's one way of keeping the player to grow. Keeping the player to grow by doing something that is not ordinary, an extraordinary thing. To drop him makes him wonder, oh, I had such a good game and he dropped me. Now, the one thing you do then as a coach, you don't walk to the player, you don't go tell the player, I'm dropping you, so you just drop him, okay? You can hint and say there's going to be a few changes and stuff, and then you see if that player wants to know the reason why you dropped him, because you know the reason. And you can give him the reason if he wants to know it. Don't you as a coach walk to the player and feel as if you are working for them and they need to know why you dropped them. No, no, no. If you drop a player and you know, you don't need to tell them unless they come and they ask you, why did you drop them? And I can tell you, if you look at world-class players, Daniel Carter, and you look at the Morne Steyn, and you can see the difference between the two, and you want to go win a game, you need to go get the player at the same level as his opponent. But because he doesn't have that capabilities, you need to bring the other player down to your level, to your player's level. And when you manage to do that, everything's become a contest on the day. So now you can work on those things. And when a player reaches that height, that is where he's hitting his comfort zone. Then you need to work out things. Sometimes you will drop a player. Other times you will make up stories and tell him how bad you were at this and this and this, although we had a good game. You don't go out there and tell the player how good he was that day. That is the reason why you selected him in the first place, to go be good out there. That is the reason why he's playing in your team, because you're not mediocre. You don't need to tell the player how good he is, but it's your job to tell him how bad he was and what he can do to improve. So, yeah, there were ways and means where we can do it. If I can give another example, we played in 2009. And in 2009, I think it was Ruan Pina's year, because he was very instrumental in most of our successes. And the last game against the All Blacks in Hamilton, I dropped him, and I told him, I'm dropping you, but I don't know why. and I want you to be on media so you can tell the people that I'm stupid. I don't know why I'm dropping you. I can't give you a reason. Being man of the match for some of the games, I just have a feeling I need to drop you. And I dropped him and I brought in Francois Steyn. And then Francois Steyn kicked that first 3 penalties in that final game of the season, 60 meters penalties. So sometimes you as a coach must understand that your gut feeling is also very, very important.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I want to get to a question here from Hussein. So he's all the way from St. Rand, yeah, in the Western Cape. So he is I think it's more personal, specifically referring to a role as a coach. How do I know if I as a coach can actually take players from ordinary to extraordinary?
Yeah, this is also a good question. You need to understand what is the role of the coach first, and if you can take all those boxes, you need to understand that can I, like the Bible says, the fruit of the Spirit. Do I live in the fruit of the Spirit? Can I forgive? Do I have patience? If you have all those kind of things, do I have mood swings? Do people every day see the same thing in me? Do I create an environment where they feel safe? If you have all those kind of things, can they trust me? Can I trust myself? If you have all those things and you can tick all those boxes, then you know you're on the right spot, on the right track. But then your mentor will always remind you of another thing that so you are working hard every day to perfection. Now, a lot of people say that you will never get a perfect marriage, a perfect team, but if that team is perfect to your standards, it's a perfect team for you, and you can work with that.
Okay. We've got a question here from David, all the way from Pretoria. So they've also got a time difference there, so they 1 hour ahead of the rest of the country. So, Coach David, we're gonna so you asked 2 specific questions with regards to the environment. How do we create an environment where everyone can feel comfortable about themselves?
Okay. Firstly, that is the biggest challenge for a coach. You know what coaches do? They stand next to the field, and when things go wrong, they say, stick to basics. And I'm very honest, I don't know what basics is. I really don't understand basics. I don't know. The only reason and the only way you can understand basics if you have created it as basics. Everything that you has created for your team as basics, that is basics for the team. And the same thing with the environment. Everything that you have created, and you can't do it on your own. You need to have the input of the players because they are the ones and they are the reason why you are there. So if you have created with their input the environment for them to feel safe in, then I think that you have done a hell of a lot of the hard work already. Because the one thing they must understand, you can remove it again. And if they don't perform within those boundaries, then you will remove all those things again from them, which you gave them. So you remain in control in a subtle way. You're not in the forefront. You're operating as you're not the main dimension in the picture. You are only the background, but you are such a strong background that the picture looks pretty and powerful. So yeah, you still remain in control.
Yeah. So I just want to add on to that. You also the last time we chatted on the webinar, you had a big focus on player happiness of players. Players need to be in an environment where they can express themselves. Also, players, their family is important. And how does that link to this?
That's really important. That's part of my makeup. One thing, you can show me any man, any rugby player, any man whose behavior doesn't change when his wife is close to him. So the family brings out another dimension of safety for you, so that you can create safety for the player. And if you don't have the family there, the player will come and they will do things behind the back of the family. And if you can fool your family, you can fool yourself. If you can fool yourself, you can fool your team. If you can fool your team, you can fool the whole environment. And I'm telling you now, everything will just end up in a mess, because he doesn't take responsibility for the environment that is there for him. And that is very, very important.
Yeah, so I've got another question from David, and that links onto that. So how does the extraordinary environment looks to create that extraordinary player? So what will your pillars or your building blocks be in order to create that extraordinary player?
Yeah, you know what? And I want to speak directly to David now. Don't doubt yourself. The extraordinary and the ordinary looks the same, because what's ordinary in ordinary itself is ordinary. What's extraordinary, and if you achieve that, it becomes ordinary. So you will know when your team has grown. You will know when they can take responsibility. You can know when they make that extra tackle, which is extraordinary. You can, the extra few yards they go, they do things on the field. You know the extraordinary things that they will go out and do as a team. But then you must understand that becomes ordinary. And that is why we need to start working on the next part of becoming better, because extraordinary is already ordinary. So they look the same. They really look the same. It's just that only 10% of people reach that level, which is normal to you. For me, when I was a Springbok coach, when I reached that, the media couldn't handle it, because the media said, Peter, you're going to get injured. That is too high for you. You can't do this. That, wow, sorry, you're going to get hurt up there. What was extraordinary for them to look up to was ordinary for me to live in. And that is when you know. People will say bad things about you. People will actually try and take you off your way of doing things. You will have more enemies than friends, but then you know, now I'm hitting the extraordinary, because the reason why they actually a bit of jealous is because they're jealous on their own inabilities.
Yeah, thanks for that, Coach. Great insight there. So I wanna the next question is from Coach Jacques Juries. I'm not sure if they still call them the purple people eaters. He's all the way there from Welkom, the Griffins coach at the moment. So you ask, what would you do different in your approach if you get a chance to coach the Boks again, or let's say any professional team again, disregarding the technical aspect of the game?
I need to understand where my team is. So I need to know how can I get them to the next level. If you don't know where they are, what they can do, who they are, then it's no use trying to start working with them. We will take the worldly norms and standards, and we'll measure our team against that. And then we try to get there first in all areas of the game. And then there's one aspect of the game that I will bring into the game. And I mentioned it to David once, and me and Doc is still working on this aspect. We want to refine it, and then we will put it out there. I will coach a new way, and I call it error-based coaching. I will start a new way of coaching, error-based coaching. It goes into against the grain of all kinds of rugby that the world is playing at the moment. But I can see how they will fight hard to catch up if the players start understanding it. Yeah, I can't wait to start working on a principle like that, because I believe that will make the playing fields level. That will take away a lot of stuff that came into the game and made us minds skewed. So yeah, that's what I will do different when I coach a team now. I call it error-based, and there's such a lot of things in there. And I do think most of us, when we start studying it, we will agree with it, but how to implement it will be a challenge.
Okay, thanks for that. Because yeah, so just on that, you challenged me quite a lot when we met last week regarding it, and I think that will change the landscape of how we approach coaching, and also in your community clubs. So I wanna ask you a question specifically to our community clubs. So how do we, because a coach is central in a club, but also so important is the chairman and then the exco members as well. How do we, and the issue with some of the clubs is that the coaching is on a level where you can take players to that extraordinary level, but the administration is not on the same level. How do you take the club as a whole? Because a lot of these clubs come with a lot of traditions, and they've got a rich history, but they've kept on doing the same thing over and over. How do we change that mindset?
Again, this is my view, and I think everybody else will have a different view, but I know it worked for me. The one thing that you must understand, that the club is a community club. The club is not your club. It's a community club. It belongs to the community. The coach must be a community member. He must be prominent in the community. He must be respected in the community as somebody who can make a difference in the lives, either through coaching or other things. But people must respect him, and so the officials of the club. If those things are absent, even if they are good enough, the community will stand up against somebody like that. You must be part of the community. You must feel for the community. You must bring some new ideas in the community. You must be a pillar of strength for the community, because it's a community club. And that is where our club's been built on. And if you don't do that, I'm telling you now, if you are using the club for your own selfish ambitions, there's no way that it's going to work. If you understand that somebody has elected you in that position, now I have to perform to earn the trust of those who elected me, then suddenly the whole thing begins a snowball effect, and your players who are part of the community will fit into what the community stands for and where they can be. So yeah, it's that's my view, and there's different ways of doing it. And a guy like Sam understands those principles very, very good. He studied that again, and he understands how to implement it. But there's very, very a fine line between being selfish and being a servant.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest issue, and I think you summarize it great, because the concerns at some of the community clubs is the head coach, who's also sometimes the first team coach, wants to create like a culture within the first team that is on high standards. There's a lot of honesty. It's based on principles, and then the rest of the club doesn't follow it, and that's sometimes what hurts a lot of our clubs, and that's what happens when you got three clubs within one club. So I think we, as a collective, we need to agree that we want to go to the extraordinary level, and then everyone needs to buy into that. And that's could be wishful thinking, but I think that's a dream where all organizations wants to move to. So here's a question from TJ, all the way from Paul. So he's in your hometown. In the professional era where sponsors and contracts are involved, and you as a coach needs to represent a brand, how do you manage to cut out all outside noises and do what you think is best to still provide winning results?
Yeah, sponsorship. I'm telling you now, if somebody gives you money because of his passion, then you're actually covered. But if somebody gives you money because he wants to buy himself a name through his money, then you run into trouble, because now you have to adhere to the standards of that guy. And then again, if he's not a community person, if he's not part of that community, if the norms and the standards that arises in that area where your club is not adhered to through him, then suddenly you'll get people, the old club members, or you'll get people who's against this and against that. And those are the people who have children who are your players and family members who are your players. And suddenly when some people go to church, they are standing on the corner of the street and they're discussing you, and everything that seemed so great for you, it just fall into pieces because you can't reach the heart and the soul of what you're working for. So my small little take on this is, in our clubs where we struggle so much, we do have nothing, really nothing. And I always say, if nothing could take me to where I came and where I reached, how far can nothing take me if I be honest and true to myself? So take away your eyes from what you can have and look what you do have and make that work. And if that works, everybody will buy into it. God. Where are we?
As Dr. Da.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, sorry, I forgot to unmute myself here. So the question is related to mentorship, and you touched on it earlier. What is your opinion if someone needs? So a lot of times we look for a mentor in your industry. So a rugby coach will look for a rugby coach. Don't you think we should broaden our horizon and start looking for mentors in different industries? Because sometimes your answers to your question might not lie in sport or even in your own sport.
Yes. Doc, listen to me. You are so spot on. A mentor is somebody who is very, very honest. He's an honest person. He's somebody who will tell you exactly what he feels and what he sees and where you should better yourself. So if you find a mentor in your community or mentor somewhere in the world, which you need to speak to once a week, like they say, have coffee or have beer or have just sit down with the man and talk to him, or the woman, the one who's your mentor. If you can find that honest person who in your absence will look for ways to make you smarter. If you can find those things, I'm telling you now today that you will be on the right track. You need somebody that you can trust. You can't sit with another coach. If you can sometimes, but if I manage to win the All Blacks 3 times and you are now on 2, do you really think that me as a mentor want you also to go to 3 or 4? And that is the kind of warning signs out there. If you find somebody in that, you can speak to a lot of people. You don't need a rugby coach to be your mentor. It's great to have someone there, but you can find anybody who stand next to the field to tell you where the team went wrong and what you can do, because they all know the game. But a mentor is somebody who makes you a holistic, a whole person.
Yeah, so I want to touch. So you've coached at the highest level. So let's say you move to, you coach the Springboks. There's you can't go higher than that. How do you keep yourself stimulated? How do you challenge yourself? Who do you ask to be your mentor? Because now you've reached the tipping point of coaching, or the coaching level. So where to next for you?
I had a guy 3 weeks ago. He died. And I wish it his soul rest in peace. He's in Kimberley, or he were in Kimberley. I could call that man day and night. He was my coach when I played for Griquas. He was my coach. I could call him day and night, and he would give me. He would sit there. He was so spirited. He would sit there, and when I talked to him, he would find from somewhere. he would find ways and means to talk to me and tell me what I need and what I should do. And to me, he was really Aces during my years when everybody were against me. He wouldn't tell me, forget about them. You go on what you do. He would tell you, why are they against you? Can you find ways that you offend them? If not, then this, then this. And he kept me really honest to myself. And that was, and I'm telling you now, for me, at that stage, I needed it. But because of that, I can now do so many things at a different level.
Yeah, coach. So I wanna head back to the role of the coach, because we see a lot of resources, a lot of funds go into supporting the players to prevent burnout, to look after their wellness and stuff. Who looks after the coaches? Who looks after the wellness of the coaches, the mental health of the coaches? Do you think that's something that we lack in South Africa?
Yeah, definitely, because we paint ourselves into a frame. We don't want to talk to other people. We think we're the only ones who knows the game. Somebody comes from the community and he had one too many, and he's not actually sober enough, and he comes to you and he talks to you about the game, and then you just wipe him aside. And actually, that is the one person you just needed at that stage. To revitalize yourself again. So because you are a book, you wanted to be a book on a public stage in a bookshop. But you don't want people to come with their dirty hands and to read into you and page yourself and dirty the pages. You don't want that, but you want to be a book. You should never have been a book, you know. This is the little things that there will people who don't want to buy, who just want to come and look and peep and say things, bad things about you, and just want to tell you how he think you shouldn't have been there. And those are the people you need the most in your life, because if you go sit alone in your room and you say, this man say that I'm not good enough, and the first thing I asked him is, why am I not good enough? And he couldn't give me an answer. Then I know there was jealousy. If he answers me, this is the reasons why you're not good enough, then you know what to go try and change, because he is representing a different view from yours. And you are working with a lot of people with different views. So you don't have to satisfy everybody. What I normally say, if it's 100% people is against you, there's something wrong with you. If 100% people is for you, there's definitely something wrong with you, because not everybody can be for you. There must be people against you. And I break it down to a smaller part. I say, if you never walked into the devil yet in your life, there's a great chance that you and him are walking in the same direction. So you need people to challenge you.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Coach. We nearly closer to the end now. So what is next for Peter de Villiers?
Well, there's nobody will stop me. I'm made in the image of God, and I'm trying now to portray God's image in whatever I do. So nobody will stop me. The new ideas are coming from places that I don't even know. I'll always be there. But there's one thing I say to myself, and I will always say it, and this is, if nobody wants to learn anything from me, it doesn't take my knowledge away. If nobody wants me around, it doesn't stop me from growing. So where I reach my green circle, I have put another circle around it, the red circle, and that is my fear circle now. My fear for becoming too great, because and I'm working hard to that, because greatness is not what you achieve. Greatness is what's in yourself, what's in your heart, and who you are, and what you've been made. And your Creator has those in His hands,
Yeah. Thanks for that, Coach. So it's just you spoke about with the involvement at SAM as well. So you guys have been presenting coaching courses and coaching ed courses. Just can you expand a bit on that? When are you presenting your next one? What is the format like?
I'm not technically. I am BC, not before Christ, before computers. I'm not like you, so I can't use this webinars and all this nonsense. I want to be there. I want to look you in the face, and I want to give you, and I want to speak to your heart. And so we can't wait for this thing next month. After next month, August, this whole Corona thing will be over and done with. I believe it. And then we will travel the country, me, you, and Sam. We will travel the country. Sam is the one who organizes all the courses. Anybody who wants a course in his region, we must just say that we will get there and we will come in. This is our heart at the moment, that we want to see that when whoever coaches rugby players must coach the person in the rugby player. And if he understands himself, he can become a community leader. He can become a great coach, and he can become somebody that people want to follow.
Yeah, that was very profound. I think sometimes we're missing that point as coaches. So David's got a question here. So he says, one of your great quotes is, "We cannot stand together because we were never taught how to stand alone." Can you share some light on it, please?
Yeah, everybody wants to be in. Everybody wants to make an impact on other people's lives. Everybody wants to leave a legacy. And then you forget that you are living now. You need first to make an impact on yourself. If you can't lead yourself to the next level or lead yourself to greatness, you can't lead anybody else. The first person that you lead is yourself. If you want to follow the things you are doing, then other people will do it easier than what you can do it. So yeah, let me tell you, the reason why we can't stand alone is we depend too much on what other people think of us, what they say to us, and how they feel about us. I don't swear that much anymore. I actually cut down from 10 swearing words a day to 9. So I'm not swearing too much anymore. But the one thing I can say to David here, I know who I am, and I don't care a damn if other people don't sleep at night about me. So if you know who you are, you know where you are, you know where you can be, you find ways to get there, I'm telling you now, then you can stand alone. Because even if everybody moves one way, you will go to a different way because you believe that is the best way for the sport, for the people around you, and for what God has instilled and gave to you to go nurture. So yeah, you must understand the reason why you're a coach is because of the players. Players make coaches. Coaches don't make players. Players select teams. Coaches don't select teams. Players are playing in good teams and they are part of it and they must take responsibility for that. The coach is the background of the picture.
Yeah, so that's powerful, very powerful, Coach. So, Coach, we're going to wrap it up. Is there a last bit of wisdom, a last bit of knowledge, a last tip, a last bit of piece of advice that you want to give the guys here, and also not the guys on the webinar tonight, but also we're going to share it on YouTube. So, what piece of advice, that P. Davy wisdom, can you give them?
We are now in a uncertain state at this moment with everything that's happening around us, because we got so used to normal. Everybody wants to go back to normal. I just want to say to everybody tonight on this webinar that the new normal has dawned. This is the new normal. After this is done, you must go set the trends to get the new normal working for all of us out there. Don't go back to what seemed to be normal. It happened in the Bible when the Israelites wanted to go back to Egypt. It took them 40 years to get their minds organized that we are doing the wrong stuff. The new normal has dawned. We must take control of the new normal.
Yeah, that's so, and I think it's also, we like being a comfort zone, and now we've been tested, and it's really going to test, going to see who's the people that can live in that being uncomfortable, and who's the people that's going to rise from it. So that's very profound, Coach. Coach, I want to thank you, and on behalf of not just the coaches on the webinar, and the coaches that you're going to impact. You made a hell of a lot of impact, and I still believe you can contribute. And there's someone said, we need you at the Kings, but I think we need Peter de Villiers for rugby. We need Peter de Villiers for coaching. We need Peter de Villiers to coach coaches, and there's a real need for you and people like you where you believe in the heart of the person, not just the rugby player, but you believe in the human being, which is more important. So yeah, it's for you and Sam. Keep up the good work. You're making a massive contribution to your community, not just your community in Paarl, but the wider community in South Africa and worldwide as well. And then yeah, from my side, guys, it's been a massive 13 weeks, and I want to acknowledge someone tonight. Doesn't like the limelight. He's on that side of the mountain, Solari's Pass. Sometimes he struggles with signal when I phone him. But Alex, thanks for buying into this, and thanks for contributing to coach development as well. You're normally behind the scenes with the social media and stuff, so thanks for your contribution to that. And then I think most importantly is the people that attended over the last 13 weeks. There's some of them that Bully and Philip and Johnny's here. They've attended from the start. So yeah, guys, thanks, and you bought into it, and you were part of this initiative from the start. So thanks, and from my side. Just stay safe, and I think is impact people. That should be our most important mission in life, is to impact people in a positive manner. Stay safe, look after yourself, look after your family, and then as you go along, just smile and love people. Stay safe, people. Keep well. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Thank you, Doc.
Praat weer. Groete by die huis, né? Groete by die huis.
Is jy happy?
Ja, baie. Nee, dankie.